Hey everyone, this is Dr. Nabia Kelly with Tea Time with Dr. Kelly. Thank you for joining us today. We are on an amazing journey preparing for our podcast. Do me a favor before we even go into the episodes. Just begin to like, subscribe on below, share, tag, click the link and give it to someone. And also remember, do the notification tab that when we come on, we pop up. We have some awesome guests. We have people who are coming to drop some gems as they spill the tea in their industries. And we're looking forward for a dynamic time. So thank you for joining us. We look forward to seeing you. We look forward to engaging with you. And as you spill the tea, we shall pour into you. Hey, it's Dr. Nabia Kelly in your room today with Tea Time with Dr. Kelly with another episode. And this particular episode is very dear to my heart, where throughout life we go through certain things. We deal with trauma, we deal with emotional wounds, we deal with trauma bonds, we deal with emotional deprivation, and so many other things. So this particular episode is for those who felt like they have been deeply wounded and those who are in need of a healing. So I believe that this podcast, particularly this episode, we want to talk to those who have experienced mother wounds, those who have went through anything from rejection, shame, humiliation, abandonment, and those lines of things. So today we have a special guest in our studio audience today, and we want to introduce Aviana Stephenson, who I felt would have been the ideal candidate so you can see her from trials to triumph and also walking through the journey of what healing looks like. So I just want to say thank you, Aviana, for coming in to Tea Time with Dr. Kelly. And we want you to feel safe, feel comfortable. You are home. Anything that does not feel like you're okay with speaking about, take a few moments. You could take a couple of deep breaths as you tell your story. Remember, you're an expert in your story. There's no shaming. There's no right or wrong answer. It's just for you to be yourself. And I just want you to just greet the audience, tell them why you're here, and we get on with it.
Wow. This is so exciting to be on here with you at Tea Time with Dr. Kelly, where we spill the tea.
Spill it.
I when I got the invitation, I was so excited because I was like, wow, I get a chance to speak on my story. I get a chance on, being even a part of your vision, what God has given you. And it's so exciting to see what he's doing with you. And I cannot wait to see what this episode brings for each and every one of us.
And also to add to Aviana, we call her Avi. Is that okay?
Yes.
So Avi is with us, and I believe that there are so many people who are hurting. There's so many people who have had, some severe cases of growing up in a depraved home or dysfunctional setting. Abuse may not have been abuse, but they have felt some type of wound or some type of pain. And I believe that as we journey through this session, as we journey through this episode, that somebody light bulb is going to go on. Somebody's going to feel as if, wow, if she could get through this, I know that there's hope for me, because a lot of people are committing suicide. A lot of people are still in that place of bitterness, anger, resentment. They feel so many different feelings. And it's like, how do I break free? I know there's potential on the inside. I know that there's some stuff that I really need to navigate through. And I need to know how. I need to know how. You may not have all the answers, but I believe that you're an answer to someone or many people. So I want to just bring your attention to, before everything else, who are you now? Not what happened to you, but who are you now, or who you're becoming?
Wow, there was a time, where I actually felt more like a victim, and just becoming, finding my identity in Christ and just understanding the love of Christ and with God loving me in general. I just found out that I am a victor, because that is my testimony. My past is my testimony, and what my past has done for me is shaped me into evolving into the woman that I am today.
Okay, so you want to elaborate on that? Like, who are you now? Like, what's your identity? What's your staple in the ground that, I can't tell you who you are, but who is Aviana?
Wow, I would say that I'm a strong, independent wife, mother. I'm a business owner for Refined Beauties as well. God is doing great things within that as well, in ministry, leadership, and things like that.
Okay, so if I were to ask you, what did your silence carry that the world couldn't see?
Wow, that's a powerful question, actually.
And I want you to just take some moments to reflect. It may not be an immediate answer, but just take a moment and just go back in time. Let's say we're in what's your favorite car or
Got a
vehicle?
couple.
Or give me your top two.
I like a Range Rover,
A Range Rover, okay. That's your main car?
a GLE.
A GLE, Mercedes. Okay, those are top tier cars. It's okay. That's your favorite car.
Those are my favorite.
Okay,
Yes.
so I want to take you back along a drive. We're in this nice, what color Range Rover you like?
I want it all white.
All white, white interior, cream,
I
butter,
want red interior.
red interior. All right, so we're taking you back on a journey. And I want you to go back to a point in time where you didn't know who Aviana was. You're going through pain. You keep on getting wounded, abused. I want to take you back to that place. So we're driving down your old community. And I believe you're from the Bronx or you're from New York City. I'm driving you back to your old community. And I'm your driver. And I'm taking you back as you're reflecting, you're looking around. And I want you to bring your attention to the home that you grew up in.
Wow. Well, originally I'm from Mount Vernon. And if I'm
Mount
going,
Vernon is in New York?
yes, in New
Okay.
York. If I'm going back to that place, that's a very dark, dark place for me.
And you mean dark like physical light or just dark as
Just
far?
the environment,
Okay.
the way I was raised. I have Jamaican parents, so in my culture, their love you is more in action. They don't really speak it. So sometimes when you feel unloved in that moment, they would say like, "Well, I'm providing for you," so that's love, right?
Okay.
And so I remember as a little girl, I craved a lot of attention from my mother. I wanted to, feel accepted. And from my birth, I would say, to even now, there was always a place of rejection. It didn't matter if I was good, it didn't matter if I was bad. That rejection was always there. So it didn't matter what I did, no matter how good I was for, trying to be in school or just trying to help out around the house or just trying to be seen. It was like I was looking for validation from a place that I was already rejected from.
Going back to, let's say, 1 to 5. Some people said they could remember from 1 to 5. From 1 to 5, if you can remember, what were some traumatic experiences from 1 to 5?
I have a lot, but one of them that I cannot get out of my head was when I think I was about 3.
Okay.
My father left. He was in the military. He was home, and he ended up leaving because him and my mom had, an argument. And I was blaming my mom at the time because he was leaving, because that's where I felt my love from my father when I was young. And so I remember after me saying to her those words, I saw like red just come into her eyes, and it was like she just targeted me. And I just kept running, and me running, she was telling me, "No, we're gonna go take a shower." She was making me feel safe at first, bringing me back in, setting a bubble bath. And in that bubble bath, I felt like something was wrong, all for it to be a belt buckle just hanging and moving like this. And she took it off and she beat me in that shower.
So that was one vivid memory that you can remember. What is another one going back to where we're going? Any abuse?
A lot of abuse. Actually, when my father left, that's where my abuse really did start.
Okay.
I felt like because my father and my mother had, their own personal issues, it caused my mom to take out her frustration and what she was getting from my father upon me. So it was like, because she couldn't do it to my father physically, she would do it to me. So growing up from the age of 3 all the way up to 18, I've been through abuse. I got abused for a lot of things. In her eyes, she may look at it as discipline, but a lot of times the things that I got hit for were things that could have just been like, why did you do this? Or I'm taking away this. No, I got hit for things so small. If I didn't want to eat, I got hit for like things like if I come in the house and I forgot to say good evening or anything like that. Or if she had a dispute with my stepfather, that was when the altercations would definitely start. So what I used to do, and when you talked about going back to that place, what I used to do was I used to hide. So I used to live. My room used to be upstairs in the attic. So I would come home, and I would just go straight up into the attic, and I had like a little window that's actually where I started my relationship with God, where I would just sit there and just, speak and cry.
So from 5 years, you used to go up to the attic, or this is later on in your journey going up?
Well, later on in the journey, yeah, going up.
Were there any sexual abuse, physical abuse outside of your parents that you experienced? And we're still in the Range Rover.
Yes, yes. That was when I think I was about 6 years
Okay.
old. My mom went to go get her hair done at her best friend's house, and there was, two young people, a young boy and a little sister. And while I was there,
So they were babysitting you, or?
no, they were just watching me while my mom was doing her hair upstairs. So they basically was like, you guys sit in the room, watch cartoons, and we'll be upstairs doing
I
hair or
hear.
whatever. But that one is a very hard story for me. But in that moment, because my mom instilled fear in me as far as honoring your adults and respecting people older than you and things like that, that boy used and manipulated me in that same verbiage my mom was teaching me. And so as I was there, he began to tell me, take off your stuff, do this, do that. And I felt this very uncomfortable thing, and I kept saying to him, well, I just want to go to my mom. And he would say the same thing my mom said. Didn't your mom tell you to listen to people who are older than you? And so he used that very thing to cause me to go under the sheet, take off my clothes. And I remember just as I'm laying there before everything is about to happen, the sister, she looks at me and she said, don't worry. He does it to me all the time. And so as soon as he's going and the door just busts open, my mom runs in, completely hysterical. I thought she was going to console me, but instead it was different. It felt like, I don't even know if it's like a level of disappointment or what took place, but when she took me home, I thought she was gonna, ask me if I was okay, check on me, see what's going on. No, but she did the same thing, the bubble bath. She set the bubble bath, she washed me down, she talked, and she kept saying, don't you ever, don't you ever, don't, that's all I keep remember is this, don't you ever, don't you ever. And she beat me in that. That was my seed of resentment because I felt like my mom was supposed to have my back.
Like protect you.
And I felt like she blamed me for something that she didn't even understand what took place that day. I think the worst part about it was when the phone call came in and the mother of the son called and told her, I got the truth and I found out that he's also messing with
Her
his
daughter.
little sister.
Yes, his sister.
And my mom said, it's okay. And she hung up the phone. I never got an apology. And because I never got an apology or just, that comfort that I needed in that moment, I felt like it was okay for people to just abuse me at that point. It was like a loophole where
Like a airway, like a little
yeah,
opening for
for other abuse to
other
come along.
abuses to come along.
Right.
So let's talk about that for a moment. As how did you pretty much feel love in all of these, love or safety, when you felt like it was taken away from you?
My God. I don't think I ever did.
Talk up a little bit.
I don't think I ever did.
You don't ever what?
I don't think I ever felt loved or safe growing up at all. Maybe just when I had a boyfriend, maybe because, they'd say the sweet words or whatever in that moment, or maybe because the physical touch,
That you
but
were not getting.
I was not getting. Yeah.
What would you describe a wound like? We get cut sometime we cooking, or you get, fall down. What would you describe a wound in your own words?
Whew, I look at it as a sore for real, because to me, sometimes that wound don't really heal. Sometimes it take a really, really long time to get into that deep tissue for it to really heal. So even though a lot of times we'll say, oh, I feel a little better, from maybe a little conversation or maybe just being, held for that moment, it still does not deal with that deep tissue. It's always a piece where sometimes you want closure. Sometimes you want someone else to feel what you're feeling, because it's like I can't tell you how you're feeling, but you can express to me what you're feeling. But I will never know what you are feeling, because you're not the one that's.
So now we leave the home where your family is at, the abuse, the constant rejection. We're in the car, we're driving, and you begin to reflect. You're young adult, young adolescence, teenager, whatever have you. Did you ever feel during those times of that deep pain? Because we're talking about wounds and mother wounds, right? And I want to go into that as well. Did you ever feel that your pain had a purpose while you were going through it? Or, did it come later? Did you feel like the pain, the abuses, all of those things, did you even see any outlet when you were going through those things?
Honestly, no. Honestly, the only time I ever felt that was one night I got beaten because I didn't want to go in my bed alone. I was scared of the dark. And my mom must have said, if you, open up my door again, she was like, I'm going to beat you. And so I was trying to tell her, like, I'm afraid. And so when she ran me out the room, I was like, God, I can't do this anymore. And so I picked up a steak knife and I went in the kitchen and I held it towards my heart and I said, I can't do this anymore. And that was the first time I heard God say to me, this is not going to be forever. And so that kind of gave me a little hope that there will be joy for me soon. Like I'm not going to have to deal with this for the rest of my life. And my grandmother also used to tell me I was like Cinderella. She would tell me that even though you're going through all of this, one day you will see, like the lavish life, the good things and joy and happiness and things like that you deserve. And so those two seeds alone kind of gave me hope to just believe that.
Like the encouragement from your grandmother.
Yeah.
And also Cinderella was mistreated a lot of times. So you felt like you had a lot of mistreatment. I remember just talking to you before and you spoke to the world about this, about the McDonald's situation.
Yeah.
Let's talk about that McDonald's situation, because sometimes people don't know that ill treatment comes in so many different ways, or being mishandled, or rejection. To me, I understood that all kids should be treated fairly, but you had siblings. This is also in the journey of life. You had siblings. Explain that McDonald's situation. That was like a form. That thing like kind of like broke me when I heard that.
Yeah. So there was times where I would be in the house, and I had younger siblings that usually would go out with my mom and
So
my
she had other
stepfather.
children
Yes,
after,
outside.
okay, outside of
And
your
so they
father.
would like buy McDonald's and things like that. They would come in, and kids don't like to share. So my mom would always say, "Well, just eat what's in the fridge." But like as a kid, you're looking forward for just that happiness as well. What they're happy for, that little McDonald's and things like that. And it was just like, you know, there was times where I was always left out, just always left out, even when I seen where there was ways that I could have been, given help or given something else extra to be happy about, or toy or whatever. I just feel like it just I never had that. I never got that chance, because I feel like the seed of rejection from me being, from when I was even in the womb, I believe that that seed has caused just rejection all over, even when it came to like just doing little things, like even like the McDonald's that day.
Wow. And so you felt unfair treatment. And I think that sometimes that's how sibling rivalry takes place, where you see preferential treatment happening to one sibling, maybe because it's a different father. And you said your mother had a little resentment toward your father. And did your mother treat you bad about how you look? Did you look like your dad, your complexion, just different things? What have you experienced? Because mother bonds and mother wounds are very, very significant, and it kind of predict. Sometimes it's like a prerequisite of what we're going to experience in life, or maybe that's a wrong term to use. I think that sometimes it's a precursor of how we're going to end up in certain relationships or whatever, because hurt sometimes gravitates to hurt people, or people who are wounded. You end up gravitating to wounded people. So in your teenage years, what type of behaviors did you do that kind of showed like you were hurting and you didn't care?
Wow. So even in that, I actually used to do bad purposely, because I
Because you thought beating was the way you got their attention.
I thought beating was the way I got the attention, and also that was the way I seen my father. And so even though I wasn't getting it from mom, I would still desire to see my father. So I would do purposely get in trouble just so my father will come. And that, just even though I'm getting in trouble, it just still brought joy to me, because I knew deep down that my father loved me.
Wow. Because that's how you
Yes, and
related.
then you as you were talking about just like what were some of the things that shown that it was because my father, why my mom treated me that way. One of the things is she will always say you're ugly. She will always say you look like that side of the family, so that you could see that there was a deep hatred that was there, and that is what caused the silence. That's what put the mask on my
Or
face
the
as
muzzle.
well,
Yeah.
and the muzzle as well. So I used to actually wear a bang in my face all the time, because I would hide. I would hide, and I would try not to be seen, because I felt like I was ugly.
Do you still feel like you're ugly?
No,
No?
no.
Okay. When did you begin to start feeling yourself?
When I left home. When I left
What
home.
age did you leave home?
17.
17. And what was life when you left home?
It was hard, but I went the route of relationships. And so being in relationships was like a way for me to just get out the house.
Like
So
escape.
escape. So I had strong relationships. It wasn't like a little 1 month, 2 month thing. It was always like years. So I ended up actually moving in one of my ex-boyfriends, and we decided that we were going to get a house, but we were living together. But me being with him just a little while, he taught me also about just like having, a drive for things, and learning outside of what I knew. So I always used to say, well, I want to be a wife. And he was like to me one day, like, what do you want to do? Like, what do you, what? And I was like,
Like, what's your dreams? What's your
right,
goals?
right. And so it's so crazy, because when I was 13, I picked up, my book, and I was writing, and my mom came upstairs and she's like, what are you doing? And I was like, oh, I'm writing a book. She said, well, put it down, because it's not going to sell. And so
So words were
words were
spoken.
spoken, and so I always felt belittled, and I always felt like it didn't matter if I tried, I was always going to fail. There was always times where I heard things like, oh, you're not going to be nothing, you probably going to just be walking on Third Street, or things like that. They always talked so little of me. Even when I was doing good, it wasn't like, oh, good, good job, wow, I'm so happy. It was, you better do good. So it didn't matter if I went left or right, it still was not good. So when I left the house, I got a sense of peace because I became free and just being me and just doing whatever I want to do, whatever makes me happy. I kind of built a little rebellion as well doing that, because I knew there were things that my mom would not like me to do. But I was doing it because I was like, well, it's what's making me happy. And so those things led me down to an era where, because I didn't have a mom, I didn't understand, love. And so what men was giving me, I thought it was love, although that love would come in forms of abuse, manipulation, self-control, emotionally, physically, all kind of, you could just basically call it all abuse. And then, that's when I even got into the era of starting to have abortions.
Talk about that.
So, each relationship I was actually in, when I felt loved and I thought that everything was going good, it always ended when I would get pregnant, and they would tell me,
Or
"Oh,
what you gonna do?
what you gonna do?" And so the last one that hurt me was when my mom actually passed away. I had an ex-boyfriend, and I called him and I was telling him like, "Hey, I'm gonna tell my mom tomorrow." And long and behold, in the morning, my mom passed away. And so I called him. I'm like, "Hey, my mom died. I don't know what to do. I'm pregnant." He said, "Well, what do you want me to do?" So when I mentioned, I said, "Did you hear me?" I said, "My mom died." He said, "You act like it's the end of the world." And he hung up the phone. So what
That
happened?
was what made you made the decision.
I had to make a decision. I'm like, God, I don't have a mom no more. I don't know what to do. And there was only, I don't want to just say that, because, a lot of times people just focus on the resentment part and the hatred part and things like that. And where God is growing me right now is understanding to focus on some of the good things too that took place within my mom, even though those they still cause me, a
Some
painful
pain.
wound, right? And so one of the things my mom did do for me, and it has stuck with me, was when I had my first abortion. She found out, and she took me to the hospital, and we got a saying when she sat down. It was the first time I ever had a mom, because she said to me, when you lay down, you make sure you make it. And that's why I wanted to make sure that I did it. But when everything just crashed, I said, well, what am I going to do at this point? I don't have a job. I don't have this. I don't have nothing going for myself. There's no way I'm bringing a child into this world.
What does like womanhood? What does it mean to you in the midst of when you were struggling?
Wow. So I was juggling even like three jobs at one time to make sure that I had a place of living, and also that I can still keep up with like my social life and, still have fun and things like that, because I had to learn in life that nobody was going to hand it to me. I'd never had anybody say, here. When my mom died, a lot of people told me, hey, if you need anything, I'm here for you. But when my mom died, they scattered. And so at a young age, I had to take on the responsibility of figuring it out. And so me figuring it out put me through a lot of mental oppression, a lot of depression, oppression. Even though I was physically making money, I still felt unhappy, because I always had the question, well, God, I didn't get to have that conversation with my mom. I didn't get to, you know, ask her why these things happen.
You didn't speak much of your academic years. What were some highlights of your academic years and some low moments with friend groups, or just, some areas where you may have had some not so pleasant experiences with friends? So let's talk about your education. Were you a good student? Did you do well in school? Did you go far? Did you, advance?
So actually, home life actually made a big difference in school. When I first finished middle school, I went into one of the best school. I went to entertainment and art school.
Okay,
And
performing arts school.
yeah.
Was that
And
what, Stuyvesant?
no, it was Nellie Thornton High School.
Okay.
And so they just opened it up. I got accepted. Everything was going good. I was in, advanced classes and everything. But, everything that was going on at home caused me to just kind of just give up a little bit on life. I started to fight. I became a fighter now.
So now you got to defend yourself.
I started to defend myself. So now I didn't want to hear anything. I was just...
You was a gang leader?
No, I wasn't a gang. I wasn't a gang leader.
Let me find out you used to put the coins in the sock and start, homie, don't play that.
No. But I was outside. But it took reasons for me to be outside. I wasn't a bully. I never was a bully.
Okay.
Yeah. I never
so you went after the bullies.
So,
come on. You spilled the tea now.
Yes, I did.
Okay.
I did. I never like when people bully other people.
I got you. So what about any bad moments with your peers, adolescent experiences with people you thought were your friends? Did they abuse you? Did you go through something that I want you to speak on that, because people who have friend groups, especially the young adults now and the millennials and the Gen Z and even some adults, they have people they have trusted, and those people have really caused them more harm and caused further wounds. All in the stead of looking for love, feeling like you're a part of.
Wow. Everybody has done that to me. It's going to sound crazy.
Okay.
Everybody in my childhood has done that to me. Abuse came from everybody that was around me in different ways. My friends, actually, I had a friend who actually set me up to get gang raped.
Okay.
And that
is happening so prevalent now.
That is
Let's
so
talk
true.
about that, gang rape, even these little DMs, stuff that goes on in social media, and it causes wounds that people don't talk about.
It sure do.
So let me go back, from the mother's womb, all of this was like a trickle effect of you going through all of these things?
All of it. Yep. All of it. Because with friends, it was like I wanted to be accepted.
Okay.
I was trying to find my identity through friends as well.
Okay, so what did they do?
Well, so, friends will obviously make me feel pretty, like, hey, girl, let's go. You look good or whatever.
Oh my God,
yeah,
yes.
You know what I'm saying? So
these were guy friends or girlfriends?
I had a lot of guy friends.
Okay, why? Because by preference?
Well, just by preference. I preferred guys, honestly, because I felt like girls were a little too mixy, and I didn't have time for all of that all the time.
Okay. So these guy friends, did they set you set you up to get gang raped and all of that? What was that? Let's talk about that, because we're in a scary time.
It's so true. So, I was confiding in a guy.
Confiding?
Yeah. And when I was doing that, this guy, he actually, made me feel safe. And I was continuously telling him things over and over. And
so you started sharing your vulnerabilities with him as a friend?
Yes.
Okay.
And one day, I was in the park, and after I was talking to him, I was waiting on another friend, actually. I was waiting for another friend to come out. She said she was going somewhere, and she ended up leaving me. And so I was in the dark with, a bunch of men or whatever, and I didn't know she left. And then I told my mom that I was going with her. So if I returned back, then I know I was going to get in trouble. So I was pissed off about that. So he was like, oh, it's okay. My grandmother will talk to your mom or whatever. And that whole thing turned upside down, because when I thought that grandmother was coming to my rescue, it was a group of men in that basement waiting for me.
And what was the age range of the men? Were you drunk? Were you intoxicated? Did you use substances?
No, I don't know the age of the men in the group.
Boys or men, right?
Yeah,
go ahead.
I don't know. Some of them were men and some of them were boys. I'm not sure, because I never saw them a day in my life until that day.
And was it a repetitive thing or?
No, it wasn't a repetitive thing. It was just that one night. I was waiting for his mom, and I ended up falling asleep. And when I ended up falling asleep, I felt somebody come in the room, and so I was saying his name. I'm like, "Hey, is that you?" And all I heard was, "No, be quiet." And from there, I just numbed because it took me back to when I was a little girl.
At the age of 6.
Yes.
So you froze.
And I froze. And the last guy, I said, "I can't do this anymore." And I don't know if it was my angel or what, but that one, he let me go. He said, "Okay." And he let me go.
And what did that teach you about trust?
It built up a lack of, I will say, I did not trust a lot of people at all. And it was hard for me to trust again. Even now, honestly, it's hard for me to trust people.
So we're at the burial site of your mom. What would you tell your mother? You're at the burial ground. What would you tell your mother? Because you have been wounded, you've never felt loved, and there's somebody who's listening to you. Do you forgive? Do you keep it in your heart? Do you, what would you tell your mom right in this moment?
Honestly, would tell her I forgive her. Because a lot of things I found out later that the reason why a lot of things happened to me was because also those things happened to her. And so she didn't even know how to deal with certain things. And sometimes I felt like she was so numb to it by the pain of what took place between her and my father. And through my process, God has been showing me that I've been writing from a place of bitterness. I've been writing from a place of hatred and anger and all those things. And he had to show me, what about what I've done after the fact? I know she did this, but what have I done after the fact?
And what has he done after the fact?
And God has actually saved my mom's life before she transitioned. She was actually trying to go on the right path. She repented before me. She asked me for forgiveness. But at the time, I couldn't give her that because I was cold. I was bitter. I was angry.
Angry.
You're hearing when I was turning 18 years old, my birthday gift was, "I abuse you because you look like your father." So when you thought about all those years I was getting hit because of discipline, and you find out 100% now that it's because I'm abusing you because you look like your father, it just did a whole different thing. It changed the way I thought about her. And it was even a time where I couldn't even look at her. I was disgusted. I was hurt. I was like, how can you do this to somebody that came out of your womb?
I heard you say that you are a mother, your wife, your daughter. What does motherhood look like to you?
Well, I try to do the total opposite of what my mother has
Explain,
done.
because sometimes when we go through things, we try to overcompensate.
That's true. I think I do that sometimes as well.
As far as what? Discipline or lack of?
As far as discipline, I try not to, I don't want my kid to ever feel like they're just being hit all the time. So I use my words more. I try to show more affection, like hug or, say, "Mommy loves you," because I never heard that until I was 25. My dad finally told me and I said it to him. I said, "You never said it." He's like, "Well, I didn't think I had to because, I'm doing all these other things." And I said, "Well, you never said it." And from the age of 25, every time you speak to me now, it's, "I love you."
So you got to break the cycle.
And so I make sure I let my son know I love you. I make sure I let him know, "Mommy's so proud of you." Just like little things,
What would you tell a person who hasn't heard "I love you," or somebody who's raising children or in a home that they've been wounded? How could you encourage someone hearing your voice right now?
I would say the first step would be forgiveness.
For who? For them or for themselves?
Forgiving themselves first.
Okay.
And the reason why is because a lot of time you even blame yourself for allowing things like that
That's right.
to occur in your life.
Mm-hmm.
And so I would say to forgive yourself, then forgive the other person who have caused you harm, because it doesn't have to just be, a mom. It could be somebody who was supposed to be a guardian as a mom to you. And so I felt like one of the things I would recommend is therapy as well. That helped me as well, just finding out the truth I had to stop making excuses for my abuse, and I had to just say, yeah, you were abused, and that's just that. Just understanding the truth of
Like
what
accepting.
Yes, accept it, that it took place, and then now how are you going to go on from it? How are you going to develop from that pain that took place in
Which
your life?
leads me to, was there ever a place where you felt like I'm broken, but I'm becoming?
All the time. All the
So
time.
what does I'm broken and I'm becoming, what does that look like to you?
I would say the process of being broken can make you really feel like you hit flatline. And then, sometimes I'll notice when I'm like going through something, I always say, but if I got through that, then I can get through this. And
That's
it's
right.
like, I would use that very pain and I will build my purpose through that pain.
Right, what I asked before. And what would you tell another woman, young boy, young girl, teenager who is still in pain? What should you say to them, right? As well as, what does your soul want to speak into the world?
I really feel like until you accept and until you acknowledge that you have to forgive, that pain is always going to be there, because the growth come in forgiveness. Forgiveness is what you need to do in order for that sore to really heal, until you start to take that process of forgiving, because forgiveness is not a one-day thing. It takes steps. Whether you got to write a letter because you're not ready to have that face-to-face conversation, whether you got to pray on it daily, whatever it is for you to get that strength, you have to learn how to forgive. And I've said this to God before. I said, God, how is it for us to forgive? How is it easy for us to forgive? Because if we're glass and we break and we put it back to, we glue it, it's never still the same. So what do I
That's
need?
right.
A new heart? I would say, do we need a new heart? What is it? And what I had to learn is, no, it's not that you need a new nothing. What it is that you have to sit down and understand that this thing happened, but I cannot allow it to derail my future.
That's right. So right now, you are Aviana, your wife, you're not no longer abused child. What would be your turning point? What was your turning point, right? And then what are some special things you want people to know about you? Because it's kind of customary where I talk about what are some fun facts. But what was the pivotal point where you turned and with identity, walking into your purpose, knowing who you call? You said you're a business owner for Refined Beauties, where you could talk about that briefly. But what was your turning point that led you to this place today?
My son.
Your son.
My
Wow.
son. But God gracing me to have a son, I should say, because of all those, abortions that I have. I asked God, and when I asked God, I made a promise to God, and that promise has allowed me to become a mother. And one of the things I said to God is, I will never do what my mom did to my son. I promise to make sure that he feel loved, safe, secure. I promise that he will even understand who God is, because God is love. And that's the first thing. If you don't understand that God is love, then how is it that you're supposed to even expect any love from anybody else? The first person is God. And so I want to make sure, people understand that. When it came to me, becoming a mother is what made me find my identity. I had something to fight for. I had something to live for. So even if I wanted to give up on myself, I'll look and I'll be like, I can't give up on myself, and I'll get back. Even though it's the narrow road, I got to keep pushing, because I understand that if I fall, then my son will not make it. My son probably will have to go through what I went through. And so I made sure that he never had to deal with that.
That's good. That's good. So you're trying to break the cycle. You're the curse breaker.
I'm the curse breaker.
That's beautiful.
Yes.
Now, we've heard a lot of sorrow and sadness and pain. What are some fun things about Aviana that you want us to know, leave us today?
Well, I'm excited because I have Refined Beauties coming out. I will be working with a lot of cancer patients, a lot of people who have alopecia, and just want to make sure people understand that it's not just about the beauty that is on the outside, but on the inside.
So what is Refined Beauties?
Well, Refined Beauties is also dealing with the inner healing.
Okay.
And so refined beauties, what God was telling me about my vision for what he gave it to me was that,
Is it like a hair company, beauty company, makeup company?
yeah,
What is
so
it?
it will be all around.
So that's
It
an
will be
umbrella.
all, it
So
will be,
okay. So you're building a person from the inside out, similar to what I do
yes.
as a spiritual makeup consultant, or spiritual, what they call it, or how they say, a wardrobe dresser. What they call those? I forgot. Well, whatever. But it's pretty much dressing people from the inside out, like an image consultant.
Yes.
What's another fun fact?
Well, I'm a writer. So right now I'm working on my book, Generational Curse Breaker.
All right.
So I have actually 3 books about to come out.
That's right.
Yes. So I'm excited about that. So one of that fun fact is I didn't allow that dream to die when I was 13 years old. I'm picking it back up.
You picking it back up.
I'm picking it back up.
And with that being said, we want to thank you for joining us at Tea Time with Dr. Kelly. And it took courage and for you to be brave to sit before a camera, sit before me and so many people that are watching. And I call it commendable. I say you're commendable for just doing that. And we thank you for even trusting us in this space, because it's hard to trust people, with your story. And we thank you for spilling the tea on your journey and how you went from being wounded to being triumphant and victorious. Because I even entitled this, yes, I'm wounded, but I put she rises.
Hey.
So she has risen.
Yes.
Right? And she's rising.
Continue
so we
rising.
just want to thank the audience for having Aviana come in for our episode with Tea Time and Dr. Kelly. This was a powerful one on mother wounds, which can be very, very sensitive. I'm speaking sensitive. I'm speaking the wrong words, but you got your spirit transferred over here, but you actually did good. But we thank you. And tune in for another beautiful, dynamic episode as we continue to spill the tea with Tea Time with Dr. Kelly. Your story is your story. You an expert in your story. So stay tuned for more episodes as we continue to push and as you spill the tea and I pour. See you soon. Thank you all for joining us for our episode with Tea Time with Dr. Kelly. And we look forward to seeing you another time. Just remember, subscribe, tag, share, put your notifications on as we continue to spill the tea.